नित्यानन्दं परमसुखदं केवलं ज्ञानमूर्तिं द्वन्द्वातीतं गगनसदृशं तत्त्वमस्यादिलक्ष्यम् एकं नित्यं विमलमचलं सर्वधी साक्षिभूतं भावातीतं त्रिगुणरहितं सद्गुरुं तं नमामि. Nityanandam, a warm welcome to all of the viewers who are joining with us on this beautiful Sunday evening. We welcome all of the viewers who are joining from all over the world for this very special show. For the last couple of days, we have been witnessing the beautiful stories from different members of KAILASA, different founding members of the beginning, seeing Bhagavan relate in every single bhava and seeing this grand Leela of KAILASA play out. It's been a beautiful journey, and literally to be able to see KAILASA in their own eyes, from the very seeds until it has grown today as a vast banyan tree. Before we start today's very special show and introduce our guest today, we would like to introduce the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. Let's watch a brief video and understand from his own words how this nation happened.
स्वामी जी का साधना तप बल देख करके मुझे ऐसा लगा कि वास्तव में मैं किसी दिव्य पुरुष के यहाँ आश्रम में आया हूँ।
नित्यानंद करी बरा पाए करी सौंदर्य रत्ना करी निर्भुता घोर पावन करी प्रत्यक्ष महेश्वरी। ये अन्नपूर्णा के सामने आपके पुत्रवत खड़े हैं। अन्नपूर्णा जी की इन पर विशेष कृपा हुई है।
तो इस तरह की पद्धतियों से जो महापुरुष काम कर रहा है तो योगी साक्षात कृष्ण ही हम उसको मान सकते हैं। ऐसा महापुरुष योगी कृष्ण ही है।
हमें खुशी है कि हमारी समाज को ऐसा नवरत्न संत मिला है।
Actually, I'm a village boy. Like this, I will have one stick on my shoulder and have my kamandalu and go from village to village. And in remote villages of India, if some old lady stops and gives food, eat and sleep outside the verandas of some village house or under that tree, either under that banyan tree or that graveyard, I'll lie down in the night and again next day morning walk, take bath in the local rivers and local ponds and visit some temples, and that is the way I went round. Actually, that is the way I remember me even now. When I close my eyes, I don't remember me sitting in a golden throne. When I close my eyes, I only remember the boy, village boy with a stick on his shoulder. Mere 42-year-old village boy. Billion views. Why? Before Hindus could recognize, I have created a very powerful enlightenment ecosystem. Everywhere, spiritual awakening is happening, enlightenment is happening. People are manifesting enlightenment, manifesting powers, everything. Kailasa is reviving the enlightenment ecosystem. The Kailasa will be the place where almost million power manifestors are living and running. At least 10 million temples and monasteries, which are spiritual embassies of Paramashiva. Enlightenment becomes the source for energy and excitement. A person who can make enlightenment as a source for energy and excitement for anyone is an incarnation. Whenever I wanted to speak about Kailash, I only feel like let's do the work. So let's do it.
Yes.
And now we will be shortly meeting our very special guest today. As we have seen, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism has revived Kailasa as a safe haven for the 2 billion living and practicing Hindus across the globe. And millions of Hindus are unfortunately facing persecution across the globe, facing ethnic cleansing, attacks, violence due to their Hindu faith. Unfortunately, until now, there has not been a single Hindu nation until the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism has revived Kailasa. Today, we'll be meeting a very special guest who has herself been through persecution. Today, we will be meeting Ma Thushy Thirun from Sri Lanka.
Ma Thushy grew up in Sri Lanka and moved to Canada, migrated to Canada very early in 1989. She has been working there as a software engineer until the time where she met Swamiji. Today, Ma Thushy has found so much of healing, profound wisdom from the teachings of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. And Swamiji has empowered Ma Thushy to be the leader of KAILASA Canada ecosystem.
Ma Thushy is not just the leader of Kailasa Canada, but she's also a founding mother of Kailasa. She is one of the founding members of Kailasa who has contributed her time, talent, and treasure to the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism's mission to revive Hinduism for all of humanity. So we have a very brief video about Ma Thushy's journey from Sri Lanka until meeting the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism.
Sri Lanka, 1988, the night of Shivaratri, a sacred celebration of Lord Shiva. For one 15-year-old girl and her family, leaving the temple, devotion turned to terror. Stopped at a checkpoint, a driver beaten mercilessly before their eyes, the cold grip of fear, the taste of helplessness, a moment frozen in time. Divine intervention, a sudden distraction was all that saved their lives that night. The trauma ran deep, so deep that for 30 years, despite building a life in Canada, Ma Thushy could never bring herself to set foot back on Sri Lankan soil. The vibrant Hindu heritage of her homeland felt like a shattered memory, temples in ruins, traditions disrupted, and a community scattered across the globe. Then came the grace, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Bhagavan Nithyananda Paramashhivam. Through his teachings, freely flowing like a divine river, she found understanding. Through his boundless compassion, she found healing. The Upanishads and Agamas came alive, not just as texts, but as living path. The wounds of war began to mend, replaced by a fierce divine purpose. Today, Ma Thushy is not just recovered, healed from the traumas of persecution, but a part of the solution. With great honor and happiness today, we are able to introduce Ma Thushy to all of the viewers. Nithyananda Ma.
Nithyananda Ma, thank you so much for joining us today.
Nithyanandam, thank you for the warm welcome. I'm so glad to be part of this discussion.
And can you start off with sharing with the viewers a little bit about your childhood in Sri Lanka and what was actually going on? What was the tensions that were happening at that time?
Sure, Ma. So I spent my early childhood definitely in Sri Lanka. For the first 10 years till 1983, I would say it's a so-called normal childhood, even though that systematic oppression and everything was underplay. It was not so evident to a 10-year-old. So I had normal schooling and growing up in Sri Lanka, and we used to travel even southern part of Sri Lanka, not just us, even other Tamil families from the northern part. they can travel freely to southern part, and so it was normal. But 1983 July riots, which is within one night, all the Tamils, businesses, people were burned and made to flee out within a night. So that was the first. There was historically there were a few other incidents in the past, but this is, to my knowing, 1983 riots was the first alarming in a large scale. At the time, my dad was working in the southern part of Sri Lanka. So everybody, all the Tamils, uh, whoever even had the Sinhalese friends at the time, they had to leave either for other countries or even northern part of Sri Lanka. So my dad didn't come home within a day or two. People were coming through ships and all that. I think there was no flights from southern part of the north at that time. So, but my dad didn't come home. So at that time, what to be assumed is if somebody is either missing or they haven't reached home, it they could have had something could have happened to them at the time. So that day, I remember my home was filled with families, neighbors, and relatives. All of them were very worried, and my mom was highly worried. And as a 10-year-old at the time, I remember I went to our bedroom and took the Kandashashti Kavasam book. Even at that age, I don't know how, probably my bringing up or my mom always fall back to deities. What is our safety net. So I took the book and said, when I finish this, my dad should be home. At the time, I don't even by heart at all that Kandashashti Kavasam. I started singing along with reading it. I think middle of it, I fell asleep. But to my surprise, I was woken up by my dad walking into the room. So when I woke up, I was so surprised. My prayer was answered. So this is how it was. Even though it was a tragic incident, but even in all that, the safety net or the foundation to fall back, it's certainly on deities. We were only introduced to deities and temples. That's all what I knew of Hinduism back then. And ever since 1983, there was many different incidents, bombing, shelling. It become a daily chaos, displacement in a sense that my house is in a main road. So usually when armies goes through, those are the places in danger. So people will flew to the outskirts. So we need to move to my father's side, their home, which is bit in a rural area. We will go there, wait there until this regime has moved to other places. So it's a daily ongoing. And also, since I studied in a school which is little far from my home, on the daily commute itself, there will be sentry points where armies, if they decide to pull somebody out, even though I was in school uniform and tie, and they know that it's a schoolgirl, I have no other means because I'm daily commuting. But even then, they can pull you out and ask you questions in Sinhalese, which I don't know. And you cannot communicate, or you cannot ask any questions. If they ask you to stay, you have to. So that is sort of the memory that I have from those time.
And can you share actually with the viewers who may not be familiar with the ethnic tensions and the ethnic wars that were happening in Sri Lanka at that time, exactly what was the political situation at that time?
The political situation is with Sri Lanka, Tamils are the minority groups, and Sinhalese as the majority people in terms of stats and how many people live in that beautiful island. So I think the ethnic war, or not sense of war, but the ethnic oppression has started much earlier. Even the day from the British left Sri Lanka and gave the independence to Sri Lankan itself. At the time, there has been Tamil leaders as part of the governing circle, but they should have had, knowing how could have, like, if they have predicted how the future would have been. By the time itself, the governance structure and whatnot had to be decided at that time, so that the Tamil community didn't have to go through all this war yet to the state, even though now it's peace, and they do have democratic elections, and there are Tamil parties. We contest in the election. Yet, I recently visited Sri Lanka, but what you see in the southern part of development and how people are living their life versus compared to northern part when you travel, it's still it's very hard, sad to see the state in terms of investment, in terms of development, and people's livelihood, and many of these places have had bomb shelling. So that environment itself, it's very sad, Ma.
And you have shared with us a couple of really profound incidents that have stayed with you for the last so many years. Do you mind opening up that to the viewers? What exactly were those incidents which you remember, where you've been through and you've been witnessed to some of the worst parts of the war that's going on?
There are many incidents where we have to go inside the bungalows. Like, this is like a daily type of routine. Like when you hear that the bombers, it has a sound that it would really hurt your eardrums. But when you see that, you have to rush yourself, no matter where you are, what you're doing, you suddenly rush to bunkers and save yourself there, and then you come. So there was many incidents, but one such incident that I can recollect is this is during the peacekeeping time of Indian Army forces. So even since 1983, there are many incidents of riots, and all this is happening in 1988, if I correct. That time, Indian Army was in ground to have the peacekeeping mission. So people were trying to at least adjust to some normal life that they would have before. One such thing is going out at even after 6 p.m. During those times, people would not leave their homes after 6 p.m. It's mostly at home, like, because it's quite a lot of uncertainty. So that year, our family, we decided to go to a Shiva temple for the Shivaratri. Me, my mom, dad, and my brother. I don't think my sisters came along. And when we were going to the temple, we did see a little bit. There is called sentry points. Sentry points are the places, like, it will be frequent. This temple is not that far from our home. It's about 15 to 20 minutes drive. In between, you would see multiple sentry points, but in one such sentry point, we did see some moments, like, if it's a quiet day, that they will be inside the sentry points itself. You would not see armed forces outside, but we did see. We went, and when we were coming back, we were pulled outside. And when the armed forces came near, no question asked, nothing. They started to beat our driver. He's an old man. When his face was smashed against the steering wheel, he started to bleed. And he was screaming, shouting, but there was no response. They were decided to target. I would say, by the God grace, I don't know what happened. There was a call inside, and they were asking, I was sitting on the backside to pull the window down. Suddenly there was a call from inside that the armed forces got a call. They were rushing inside, and the driver, even though with all this injury and whatnot, he took the car and we, flew from that space itself. If that call didn't come, I'm sure that night our whole family would have been, that would have been end of our life. It was that tragic, and I can quite remember that incident, how it unfolded.
Thank you, Ma. Thank you for sharing. It's really not easy to bring back all these memories, especially after so many years. We never tend to want to recollect this. But when it comes to telling the future generation what we have been through, what Hindus have been through just for being Hindu, and ultimately, because you're able to provide a better ecosystem, a safer ecosystem somewhere else, but we still have to understand our history and be able to know what Hindus have gone through.
And what Hindus are still going through. Unfortunately, it's not just then. Even now, so many Hindus across the globe are facing persecution without a voice for themselves. It is only Swamiji who's actually giving a voice for all the persecuted Hindus, who's giving a safe haven, a possibility, a future for all of the Hindus, the 2 billion Hindus, to safely practice Hinduism, the most peaceful and loving religion. And unfortunately, Hindus have had to face so much just to continue practicing Hinduism. Ma, can you share a little bit more about how life was like after that incident, and soon after that you had migrated, and can you share a little bit about how life was shaped due to that incident, the fear, the tension, and the constant worry that you might have been going through at that time?
Certainly, Ma. Until I came to Swamiji, I don't think I have even identified these as trauma, fears, the clutch of those emotional that barriers that I had within me, because it's not just myself. All the Tamil people who are diaspora now in various countries, they may be living so-called normal, very successful, materialistically, whatever they want, they may have gained it. But inside who they are and at the emotional layer, unless if I didn't come to Swamiji, if I didn't go through his programs, I would have not known. I would have learned to only suppress, forget, but the that reactions or the response, what is happening out of those memories, I would have treated as it's normal. So from that 1988, that incident, from that time itself, so my parents have decided to send me and my brother to somewhere Western country for further education. Only my parents were thinking in grade 10 that you go through a board exam there. So they want me to finish that. My brother has already finished it. They want me to finish it so that in case if we have to come back and settle back in Sri Lanka, so that I would have had that the first level of board exam done there also. So I did sit for that, and during that time, then they parents didn't. I didn't daily commute from my home to school. I boarded with one of my friends closer to home, so I don't have to go through this Sentry Point and all that all the time. So that's how I finished that exam before migrating to Canada in '89. But even then, while that time, I think one incident I still remember when we were coming from school. So there's school buses. There is a girls' school and boys' school. I went to an old girls' school. But this bus will collect all the kids from various schools, and then it will transport. It was targeted, and on a bridge when that bus was on, the military helicopter started to shooting. This is Sri Lankan Army. So one of the boy got thinking that he will be protected if he get out of the bus and hang on to the bridge, so that bridge will be the shelter for him. But since it was more visible for them to target and shoot, he was killed. So this is the same person who got killed in front of our eyes. He is one of the brilliant and I think elder in the family. He was wanting to become a doctor at the time, but he is no more. Yeah. So this is one such incident where many people would have retell stories what they have, where they have lost their loved ones.
And you're mentioning, Ma, what I felt is very, very profound is that you, this has become the norm, living in this type of this violence, or in this, and you were saying, and constant feeling, needing to go to the bunker. All, of course, we would never even think, having grown up in the USA, we would never even think that our parents or anyone who has gone through this in just one generation above us, or just our parents' generation, Hindus who have gone through this. But in your generation, whoever has gone through this has decided, okay, they need to move out of this. They need to, have a safer ecosystem for our
themselves and for their future generation. Yeah. Like your own children, unfortunately, have grown up in the West and in Canada, away from all this violence, and they, they themselves, of course, after meeting Swamiji and after being, blessed by Swamiji, they understand the importance of Hinduism and reviving Hinduism. But so many others out there, the next generation, do not even know what their parents have gone through to give them the life that they have in the West, what the kind of persecution that they've faced, or the kind of attacks, the violence that they've faced just for being Hindu, just for practicing Hinduism. And once, can you share a little bit about actually how life was like moving from Sri Lanka to Canada, and kind of moving past that really traumatic phase of life and into kind of settling into a Western flow of life?
Shoma, so when we came to Canada, me and my brother was living with my mom's cousin sister. So they were already in Canada, so we lived with them, but went to a school where there was no, even brown people, it's very small numbers, but Tamil or Sri Lankans, I don't believe, except me and my brother and the cousins. From that family, those are the people who were at school. So it's
this is high school for you, Ma?
This would be grade 11. Yes, 11. It's high school. So it's completely different culture, and academic wise, it wasn't tough, I would say, but adjusting into this new culture without parents, being alone, and it's a complete, if I were to think how one person could integrate, it's shocking, but at that age. But one thing is, even though all the Sri Lankan Tamils who have gone through this war and all these incidents where they have a first-hand witness to, none of them, I from my experience, I would say none of them would even think how much deep impact this has on each of us. Until I came to Swamiji, I didn't know. I was not looking my life as I'm looking now. Those times when I came to Canada, it's more of how to fit in. So losing who you are, do not try to hold on to any of your identity, whether it's your language, whether it's your culture, whether it's your tradition. That is, it's personal. It's only in your home. Outside, how best you can fit into this Western world, which is promising you the safety and all the materialistic, career-wise, academic, anything you name it, that you could gain. So how to fit it in? So anything else, you keep it at home. That's, you know.
I think like any kid who's grown up in the West, and sure your own children and ourselves as well, have had that same experience of like trying our best to fit in and trying to fit in with that culture and secretly keep all the Hindu lifestyle or Hindu culture at home away from everybody else, just trying to not drag, like pull too much attention on ourselves. And that's something that, you know, anyone who has like migrated, especially as like a Hindu, can really relate with, I think, Bob.
Yeah, even I'm thinking back, I mean, whether it's in high school, whether it's in university, I never had Tamil friends because I have moved other high schools and went to universities where there are Tamils and whatnot. It's mostly trying to find mainstream, other ethnicity as your close friend because you're trying to make yourself into somebody else who you are not really. Yeah. But until I come to Swamiji, I don't think I would have this clarity about why I was doing that. Because on the surface, it may look like, you know, I'm trying to find a better life, but it's not. It's deeper in a sense. You are trying to suppress who you really are, and you have already cognized that identity, that who you are, haven't given you the safety or the comfort or the anything that you aspired in life. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Exactly that. And we know that Hindu Americans and Hindu Canadians, this is our narrative that we have seen. While we might have been searching for an ecosystem, which is we're coming to the West for safety, for, you know, whatever the West offers,
life, better life, you know, more materialistic pleasures, or whatever that dream that the West sells.
At the same time, we are still losing a huge part of our heritage, our culture, our spiritual nature. And because that ultimately that is what we are leaving behind. But Swamiji having happened in our lives, as devotees of Swamiji, we are blessed to be able to learn how to enjoy both, how to immerse ourselves in the Hindu culture, in the Hindu teachings as authentically as possible, and also enjoy the infrastructure of the West.
Absolutely. And like you were sharing that, like, I think most of us who are devotees of Swamiji kind of had that same experience where we didn't really even realize that we were neglecting or rejecting or trying to suppress our Hindu heritage or Hindu culture and just trying to fit into that mold of that the West kind of sells to us. It's only Swamiji who has even awakened that awareness in us and awakened that even desire to experience Hinduism or experience spirituality, our consciousness. Like, you know, can you share a little bit more about like the next few years of life until you met Swamiji, about university life and about you know, getting married, having your own children, having your own family, and raising them in this like kind of Western lifestyle.
And of course, if you, like, as you are coming to the time when you're meeting Swamiji, were you seeking a guru? Were you at that point where you were really seeking something beyond the lifestyle that you had until then?
Sure, Ma. So after high school, at that time, there was about until grade 13, you have to do high school, and then you go to university for 4 years for whichever stream that you want to major in. So during that time, settling in Canada, it's definitely was difficult time because parents were not there. Me and my brother, we are trying to navigate through this different type of world, different culture, and all together. One thing that I'm so blessed that I was born and brought up as a Hindu, with a limited idea of Hinduism. I did take Hinduism till my board exam till grade 10, but there was no understanding about anything about consciousness, enlightenment, self-real, none of that. It's all about few hymns and for Myanmar, that you get to study their history and how they were able to relate with the God, and they did this miracle and this and that. But I would say still, even with that limited idea of Hinduism, some level of able to have that devotion, connection with the deity itself, that's what carried me through those tough times. Even though I'm only practicing Hinduism, doing my everything at home, but that is where I stood during this time while rebuilding our life in Canada. I think early years, I lived in a city where there is no temple. But then I moved to a city where there was a temple.
Okay.
At the time, I was not driving. So I had to take 2 bus, walk some distance to go to this small strip plaza temple. It's not like anything big as you would see now. It's a small, it's
And
a
this is in Toronto, or
it's
was
in
this
Toronto. It's in
Toronto?
Toronto. It's in particularly in the it's between the border of Markham and Scarborough at the time. It's a Durkyaman temple. It was a small temple. Every Tuesday I would go to this temple. So I think the way that rather than me saying I connected with them, they were there for me. They were there for me to hold me, because otherwise, just going into this temple, that is where just I will go and pray and come. And that whole week, I'm energized, good, no matter what I'm facing in life, without knowing too much of knowledge about Hinduism, but this backbone still hold me. Then as per, I got to know my husband, my now husband at that time, in high school. Then we went to different universities, then graduated. Then my parents came to Canada in 1996. So that is the time we got married and then had kids and settled down. I met Swamiji through a YouTube video in 2008. This was my sister. At the time, there's the closest temple for us at the time was a Shiva temple that I go, and I do fast on Pradosham. So my sister sending me this clip on a Pradosham, that fasting day. Look at this. This looks very interesting. It's about Swamiji talking about present moment. During my school time, not school time, university time, and after graduation, I had natural inclination to read more. Spirituality, I didn't know what that really meant, but somehow I know at the background there's much more to be explored. That instinct that I had. So she sent me this present moment clip, and I was watching it and felt like, wow, how could somebody explain? I think even before that clip, I have been maybe little introduced to reducing your thoughts. You could have, better visions, but nothing really clicked. But this one, he was just drawing a triangle and saying, okay, when you move from to the zero thoughts, the visibility of what you could see from the so-called, you say, past and future, it made so much sense. Till from that day, I started to watch every single YouTube clip that I can find in YouTube at the time to learn more. And then I was asking, at that time, there was no real Sangha or anything. There wasn't any people, but there was one family, I think they were in West Coast. We were in Toronto, East Coast. They were in West Coast. Somehow I got his email. I don't know how. Then I messaged him saying, okay, he'd seen Swamiji at the time. I was so impressed. Oh, you already met, because I've only seen him through YouTube clips. You met him, how to meet him and all that. And he said, Ma, we need to have the momentum to bring him to Canada, because he really wanted to bring him to Canada at that time. So this was in 2008, 2009. Swamiji did come to Toronto as part of the Yogam tour. So that first day, I still have a full memory. So it was a banquet hall. It's about 2,000 people.
Wow.
And I went early because I was, this is the first time. It's not myself, my mom, my sisters. Everybody listened to Swamiji at that time, except my brother. All of us went. We were sitting in the first row was for the media people and whatnot. The second or third row, I was sitting. And at the time, I do not know how Swamiji enters to the hall. I do not know any of that. I only seen him in satsangs and when he delivers it. Suddenly, this is like a 2,000 people packed hall. I'm sitting at the very front of it. Swamiji is walking from the back door. The minute Swamiji opened the back door, without me realizing, I stood up from where I was standing. I didn't recognize I'm in between all these people. I didn't know it was Swamiji coming at the back. I just stood up and faced at the back. This is how it's beyond logic, how it could happen. And then I didn't sit until Swamiji walked and moved to the stage, and somebody must have put me down, sit. So I think that was the first glimpse of the physical presence of Swamiji, that he was conducting 2-day program there. This was the first type of a Sarvadarshan. It's like introduction. It was not Swamiji seeing people in person, or it was not a class. It was the first intro. Even that day itself, driving back home, when that tomorrow morning would come, so that I can go back. So that was my first.
I literally felt Swamiji before you even saw Swamiji. You felt Swamiji's presence.
Yes. That is what I now. After that, I have been in Swamiji's many physical presence and whatnot. I've smelled before Swamiji is coming in. Before the curtain opens. I know Swamiji is there now. Now he is not there. These are all after. But that time I didn't even know that, you could, without logically thinking that your response, inner response would happen.
Wow. And as you're describing it, I could actually really relate. I can really feel as you're describing that minute that Swamiji is in the room, you know that you're in the presence of divine. And